This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review. Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, check us out. We're also on Instagram at That Guy Jig. But today is the day. We got the start of the March Madness. The round of 64 starts today. And I'm here to tell you, I love this time of the year. This is the time of the year where games will be 47 to 62 in the start of the second half, and then we get overtime. This is the time of the year where we see buzzer beaters, where we find out players that play at mid majors, Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum. This is where we find out about those type of guys. Stephen Curry at Davidson. This is an exciting time of the year for these players who have earned this opportunity to play on the big stage. So shout out to every program and shout out to all the coaches. But we're going to start off with UConn and Stetson. I'm taking UConn, defending national champions. I like the cut of their jib. They're a deep team, and Stetson is just not going to be able to compete, honestly. FAU and Northwestern, I'm taking FAU. I like this FAU team, folks. You're going to hear me talk about them a lot. I think they have potential. They have a 7-footer, they have good guards, a good head coach, and they can shoot the ball well. So look for FAU to do some things in this tournament. I'm trying to told you. San Diego State and UAB, we're taking San Diego State. They have great players in San Diego State. They play good defense. And they got some guy named Jaden Lee, 21 and 8. That's almost a double-double in college, bro. Folks, that's pretty good. UAB has a bunch of shooters, a bunch of snipers. Yakale averages a double-double. So this is going to be a game that's going to come down to San Diego State just plays better defense, I think. So I'm going San Diego State. Auburn versus Yale. I'm going with Bruce Pearl, the man on the mission. Give me Auburn. BYU and the university that starts with a D. I don't know the name of it, and I don't want to butcher it, but give me the team that starts with a D. I think BYU relies too much on the 3-point, and I think that the 11th seed will be able to pull off the upset of the 6th seed. So my first upset of the day is going to be BYU going down at 10:40 Mountain Time. Then I got Illinois versus Morehead State. Illinois is the up and down team. They got Terrence. He's a hooper, bona fide pro. Um, Dumas is another bona fide pro for Illinois. Illinois all-time leading high school scorer, I believe. Look for the Fighting Illini to keep fighting. So give me Illinois. Washington State versus Drake. I like Drake. I like how they play the ball. They got a guy who averages 20 points a game, which is pretty good. He's the coach's son, but that's still pretty damn good to be averaging 21 points in Division One basketball. So give me Drake. I like the way they play. Iowa State versus South Dakota State. I think this could be a trap game for Iowa State. Now Iowa State does play great defense, and they've been hot over late. But don't get South Dakota State slipping. Don't. Hey, listen, because if you know they got their Nina, then you know they straight tripping. So South Dakota State Jackrabbits, watch out. I'm still picking Iowa State just because I love the way they play defense. I love the way they play ball, and I feel like that's a good starting fundamental spot is defense. For me, if a team can play defense, elite defense, I'm always going to pick them in March Madness because you can always rely on your defense. I mean, you can always 100% of the time rely on your defense. You don't have to worry about too much, because defense wins championships, they say, right? Isn't that what the old mantra is? Defense wins championships. So that's why I'm going with Iowa State, even though I do believe this is going to be a lot closer than people think. North Carolina versus Wagner. Wagner just won. They got in. They're going to get out. North Carolina easy. Michigan State versus Mississippi State. I'm taking Michigan State and Tom Izzo because I don't believe Mississippi State can win outside of the state of Mississippi. They have a great home record, but I just don't think they're going to be able to sustain that against the mighty Sparty of Michigan State. St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. I'm taking Grand Canyon for the upset. Grand Canyon's a very solid team. The only thing that makes me really weary about Grand Canyon is that they're a great home team. They're a great home team. Um, so that's what scares me about them, And St. Mary's, I think they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but the big but, I really believe The Grand Canyon has so much talent. The way they play, the pace in which they play, they'll be able to match up with St. Mary's. I think they'll get the upset. Alabama versus Charleston, give me Bama. These guys can run, they can score. If they play a little bit of defense, they're going to be an elite team that can make an elite run this year. But it's going to come down if Alabama can play any type of defense. Clemson versus New Mexico, give me Clemson. ACC basketball, big man, I like it. Baylor versus Colgate, I'm taking Baylor. Dayton versus Nevada, give me Dayton. And give me Arizona versus Long Beach State. Now we're in the South Division, which I think is the hardest division of all of it. I think this is the toughest one. Houston versus Longwood. I think Houston's a very good basketball team, one of the best in America. I mean, Iowa State has beaten them twice, and I don't think anybody else has. So shout out to the Iowa State Cyclones. Big 12 basketball. Give me Houston over Longwood. Nebraska versus Texas A&M. I'm going with Nebraska getting their first ever NCAA basketball tournament win. This team, led by Fred Hoiberg, has been hooping. They've been balling, and they were a game away from the Big Ten championship. Wisconsin versus James Madison. I know there's a lot of hype behind James Madison, but at the end of the day, AJ Storr, Wisconsin will get it done. That team right there, they won the Big Ten, so they have the ability to score. They have the ability to play defense. Will they do it, and will they put it all together in the tournament? I do believe they beat James Madison. Duke versus Vermont. Give me the Dukies. Give me the Dukies. They are poised for a deep run this year. Texas Tech versus NC State. I'm going with NC State. Um, DJ and DJ, both of those dudes, big man and big post player and guard. I love both of them. I like the way they play. NC State plays a very good brand of basketball, and Texas Tech has a tough time winning outside of Lubbock. So that's why I'm going with North Carolina State in that one, which is another upset, 11 over a 6 seed. Kentucky versus Oakland, give me the Wildcats. Florida versus Colorado, I'm going with Florida just off of the fact that they'll be able to match up with Corey just a little bit better. I think they'll be with Corey Williams. They'll be able to lock up a little bit better, and they have some good shooters. I know they lost their big man, but they have good shooters and they have replacements. They'll figure it out. I like Florida in this game. Give me Marquette versus Western Kentucky. I know people are picking Western Kentucky, but that's just people just being people. Marquette. In the Midwest, this is going to be kind of a, I don't know, a kind of a different side of the bracket. You got Purdue versus Grambling. Give me Purdue. Utah State versus TCU. Now, TCU doesn't have that many quality wins, but since they're a Big 12 team and the Big 12 is a great conference this year, I'm going with TCU. Now, Gonzaga versus McNeese State. This is one of those games that are, because you got Will Wade, so you know what he's going to do. He's going to coach his guys up to win. So on this one, I'm still going to go with Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga will have enough at the end of the day to get it done. So give me Gonzaga, but I think it's going to be a close game. Sanford versus Kansas, the same thing. Kansas is going to be out there, but I think they're both their best two players. So look at Sanford to keep this game close. South Carolina and Oregon, I like South Carolina. They're good on neutral sites and on the road. So give me South Carolina, and Oregon just struggles away from Oregon. And they are a long way from Oregon. So give me South Kakalaki on that one. Creighton versus Akron, I'll take Creighton. Akron is a team that, won because of a foul. And I just like the way Creighton plays ball. They're deep, they're talented, and they play some good defense. Good shooters. Colorado State versus Texas. This is one of them games, folks, that you look at it and you're, oh, it's Texas easy. But Colorado State has talent. The Mountain West has talent. They have a lot of talent. They have 6'4" athleticism. So Colorado State, for me, is a solid pick. So that's who I'm going to go with. Tennessee versus St. Peter's, sorry. Give me Tennessee. And as we move on to the round of 32, this is where things get different for me. UConn versus FAU. I told you FAU is one of my dark horse teams, so give me FAU. I think they'll be able to match up with UConn and maybe surprise them. This game is going to be a good game in the East. It's going to be two teams that are very good on the road and very good at neutral sites and very good at covering spreads. So this is going to be a very good game. San Diego State versus Auburn. Give me San Diego State. I love the way they play defense, and I'm telling you, you heard it now. Jaden Ledon is going to be him. He's going to be one of these players where we look in this tournament and say, that guy's draft status went up a lot. Illinois is going to move on to the Sweet 16. Drake versus Iowa State. I'm going to have to go with Iowa State. That defense, like I said, if you play good defense, I'm going to pick you because you can always rely on defense. In college basketball, the scores are sometimes 45 to 45, 52 to 43 or some shit. So points aren't always that important, but defense is always important, especially in college. North Carolina and Michigan State, I'm taking North Kakalaki. I think this is a very good North Carolina team, a very deep North Carolina team that can shoot, they can rebound, and they can defend. And that's all you got to do when it comes to basketball. Alabama versus Grand Canyon, I think Alabama just outscores them. So give me Bama. Clemson versus Baylor, give me Baylor. I think Baylor is a very deep young team that's going to make a very, very strong push. Dayton versus Arizona, Caleb Love, too much Caleb Love, so give me Arizona. Give me Arizona. In the South Division, we got Houston versus Nebraska now. So I'm going to go with the University of Houston, of course. I think this is one of the best teams in America, and I don't think it's close. There's a couple teams out here that it's going to take something close to a miracle for them to actually lose. And Houston's one of those teams. They're a very good basketball team. Wisconsin versus Duke. Give me Duke. Duke's a lot deeper. They can shoot better, and they have a big man. And I love the way they defend at times. Now, if they can put this all together, I think they'll make a deep run. So give me Duke. NC State versus Kentucky. Give me Kentucky. Kentucky's my team. I like Kentucky. I like what they have. 2 lottery picks, and they have a 7-footer. And if they just play a little defense here and there, which they can, they're capable. If they're willing and able, they will be all right. Marquette versus Florida. I'm taking Florida with the upset. Marquette's kind of beat up right now, and I just think Florida might be able to get them at this point in my bracket. Purdue versus TCU. Give me Purdue. Gonzaga versus Kansas, man, I'm going to take Gonzaga just because if Kansas's big man is not in there, I don't think they have much of a chance against Gonzaga or any top team. And Kansas can't win outside of Lawrence, so this even makes it a little bit more easier for me. Creighton versus South Carolina. Give me the team that's deep, can shoot, and has good defense. That would be Creighton. I like them. I like the Creighton Blue Jays. I think they're going to go to the Sweet 16. Tennessee versus Colorado State. Give me Tennessee. Easy. Now we're in the Sweet 16. In the East, I have FAU and San Diego State. Once again, give me FAU. I'm taking FAU all the way. I'm taking them all the way until I can't take them no more. Illinois versus Iowa State. Give me Iowa State. Once again, that defense. I love it. North Carolina versus Auburn and West. Give me the North Carolina Tar Heels. Alabama plays zero defense. Zero. But they can score with the best of them, but they're not going to defend worth a damn. So give me North Carolina. And then I got Baylor versus Arizona. Give me Arizona. I think they have more veteran leadership, Caleb Love, etc., etc. I think they're going to be able to beat Baylor. Houston versus Duke. Give me Houston. I told you this is one of the best teams in all of America, so give me the Houston Cougars. And then we got Kentucky versus Florida, SEC rivalry. Give me Kentucky. I think this, like I said, Rob Dillingham, Shepard, those 2 wing combos, man, are going to be too good. Especially in the later parts of the tournament when you actually need someone to get you a bucket, because some of these games are going to be so defensively heavy that you need a consistent bucket getter. So look at Kentucky. Midwest, Purdue versus Gonzaga. Give me Purdue. Zach Edey, man, they're going to do it. They're going to get pretty far this year. And then give me Tennessee versus Purdue. My Elite 8, FAU, Iowa State, North Carolina, Arizona, Houston, Kentucky, Purdue, and Tennessee. That is my Elite 8. And from here, we're going Iowa State. I got Iowa State winning in the Elite 8. I got North Carolina beating Arizona. I got Kentucky beating Houston. And Tennessee beating Purdue. My Final 4, Iowa State versus North Carolina, Kentucky versus Tennessee. I have North Carolina beating Iowa State, and I have Kentucky beating Tennessee. For my national champion, I have the University of Kentucky with the overall point scored at 175. Now listen, guys, you don't have to go off of this. You don't have to listen to anything I say. This is March Madness, folks. I'm here to tell you right now that this bracket is shit. I am here to tell you right now this bracket is not going to get it done. And you know why? It's not because I didn't do my research. It's not because I don't know a little bit about ball. But it's just because it's March Madness, folks. So welcome. Enjoy the show, because it starts. And this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast, and I am him, JIG. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. And let me tell you something. If this bracket turns out to be somewhat accurate, you will hear about it. You will hear about it. But once again, I am him, JIG. Peace.